I am going to try and say this with as clear, calm, and sober a tone as I can possibly manage. We are heading towards another world war. And no, this is not me catastrophizing. No, this is not me being hyperbolic or fear-mongering. Because I know that the fear of a world war is what everyone starts talking about after every single atrocity, after every conflict, every tense moment. That is what we always say, and it hasn't been true until now. It's not just Venezuela. Venezuela alone is a terrifying violation of international law on a scale that risks dismantling the era of peace, relative peace, I should say, that we have endured since the Second World War. But it is not just Venezuela. We have a government who is saying, yeah, we did this in Venezuela. Yeah, we attacked this country that we have not declared war on, and we have kidnapped their sovereign leader. Yes, we've done that, and you know what? We're going to do it to others. We are going to do it in Cuba. We are going to do it in Colombia. We are going to do it in Mexico. We are going to do it in Greenland. We're going to do it against Denmark, a NATO partner. And sure, we all took it as somewhat of a joke when Trump suggested that he would go and take Greenland. However, we can't take those as jokes anymore. We never really should have, because he just bombed Venezuela, went in and kidnapped their head of state. Not only that, he's not even saying he's doing it to uphold some sort of international law or boundary. No, he's saying he's doing it because he is asserting that we have a right to Venezuela, that we have a right to their resources and their economy. He is saying that we have a right to them just because they are in the Americas, and he is claiming that we have hegemonic control over all of the Americas. Now ask yourself, how do we achieve that? How do we actually assert control over all of North America and South America? If you think South America doesn't fucking fight back, you're insane. But moreover, do you think the world just stops and lets that happen? Now, you think the world might be terrified enough that they wouldn't try and fight us in our own backyard, and you might be right, but hey, what do you think the other major powers of the world are going to start doing once they realize that there are no rules anymore, that in fact you can go and seize territory that you want by force, and the world is not going to do anything about it? Well, they're going to do it too, not just because they want it, but because if they don't do it, now they're going to fall even further behind the power of the United States. It's going to be an arms race to seize land, resources, territory, all of that, in order to maintain balance and power on the world stage. And once again, if the US seizes Greenland, that puts us at war, or at least significantly at odds with a NATO member. And so then NATO has to ask itself, are we going to go to war against the United States because they're the ones attacking a NATO member? Or do we just disband NATO? And when you disband NATO, what else happens after that? Suddenly, these smaller countries that have been under the protection of NATO are now open to attack. And, vice versa, the more powerful countries in NATO, now they have a vested interest to do the same, to land grab as quickly and as strongly as they possibly can. Once again, in order to survive the world order that the US is defining for us. And again, this isn't fear-mongering, this isn't hyperbole, this is playing out what would happen if the leader of our country does the things he says he's going to do after proving that he is willing to go to greater lengths than any president in history. We need to understand the only way we avoid all of that, we avoid a third world war, is if the domestic situation of the United States becomes untenable to maintain these assaults abroad. That's the only way. If the U.S. home front remains tranquil, the world goes to war. That's the reality. That's where we are right now. If you are a politician, especially in the federal government, and if you are not using every single ounce of your power to grind this war machine to a halt, you are complicit in the deaths to come. And I know that if you work in the federal government, you are used to people saying you're complicit in deaths, maybe even thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions. But a world war in the modern era is death on a scale we've never seen before. We need to understand that, and we need to understand that now before it comes to pass. I don't care how scary and dangerous you think resistance is now. It is nowhere near as scary and dangerous as what you and your children and your loved ones are going to have to face once they are drafted into a military and sent to fight nuclear powers, sent to fight nations with people in the billions. There's no winning a war like that. It doesn't matter if your country achieves its objectives. There is no winning for anyone. It is death, pain, and destruction on a scale never seen before. We must do everything we can to stop that now.